Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye issues pardons to mark the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule. It's also announced that she will travel to Washington in October for a summit with US President Barack Obama. With Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe set to issue his war anniversary statement on Friday, UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon urges Japan to reconcile with its neighbors based on a humble reflection of history. Plus, Korea's central bank keeps the key interest rate steady at a record low 1.5% as concerns linger over the levels of household debt. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Thursday, the 13th of August. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this afternoon, President Park Geun-hye has granted special pardons to more than 6,500 people, including 14 business leaders. SK Group Chairman Choi Tae-won, who is serving out a 4-year sentence for embezzlement, is the only conglomerate head to make the cut. Neither Hanwha Group Chairman Kim Seung-yeon nor LIG Next One Vice Chairman Gu Bon-sang were on the list, contrary to expectations. No politicians serving prison terms were pardoned. At the cabinet meeting today, President Park said she decided to grant the pardons for national cohesion, economic revival, and to boost morale ahead of the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule. That comes up on Saturday. She said the amnesty will give ordinary citizens and small-sized business owners a chance to make a comeback. By pardoning the business leaders in the construction and software industries, the president said she expects the amnesty will help with efforts to revitalize the economy and create more jobs. And President Park Geun-hye, who had delayed her US trip due to the recent MERS outbreak in Korea, has been re-invited by US President Barack Obama for summit talks on October 16th. It will be the two presidents' fourth summit meeting since President Park took office in 2013. Presidents Park and Obama plan to discuss a range of issues, from enhancing the South Korea-US alliance, boosting cooperation on curbing North Korea's nuclear ambitions, to securing peace and stability in Northeast Asia. The White House said the two leaders will chart the expansion of their cooperation into areas of environment, energy and cyber security. The earlier than expected announcement has led to speculation. It may be Seoul's way of giving regard to the US before publicizing President Park's attendance at China's war victory ceremony next month. The presidential office is expected to make its final decision on the China trip next week. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon is urging Japan to move towards a better future by pursuing genuine reconciliation with its neighbors. Now, his remarks come as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe puts the finishing touches on his war anniversary statement ahead of its release on Friday. Son Jung-in has more.
Speaking through his spokesperson on Wednesday, UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon clarified his stance on Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's upcoming statement to mark the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. Stefan Dujarric made clear that the Secretary-General believes Japan should reconcile with its neighbors based on a, quote, humble reflection of past history. He said Pan has maintained that position during his various meetings with leaders from the region, including with the leaders of Japan. Speaking 2 days ahead of the release of Abe's statement, the spokesman added that Pan sincerely hopes the anniversary will serve as a somber occasion to reflect on history and to encourage all countries in the region to move forward together. The comments are especially significant as Pan has rarely addressed Japan's historical issues in public. The last time was in August 2013, when the UN chief called on Japan to face up to history in response to Tokyo's plans to bolster its military. He said Japan's political leaders needed to deeply reflect on how they should perceive history to maintain good neighbor relations in a future-oriented way. The statement prompted a strong backlash from the Japanese government. 손정인, Arirang News.
Turning now to a massive explosion in China that rocked a city close to Beijing. The country's state media is reporting that the explosion happened at a container terminal near the city of Tianjin at around 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday night local time. The cause of the blast is still unclear. Now, as you could see there, videos shared on social media showed the flames lighting up the sky and shockwaves rattling buildings kilometers away, and the devastation is clear to see. China's Xinhua news agency says at least 17 people have been confirmed dead and around 400 people injured. 2 Koreans are among those hurt in the blast. Authorities say martial law has been declared in the blast zone. Tianjin is a major port city to the southeast of Beijing and home to some 15 million people. North Korea has called for an end to regular drills between Seoul and Washington with its usual bluster, but it continues to remain silent on last week's landmine blast at the border. Connie Kim reports.
North Korea has vowed to retaliate against an upcoming round of regular military exercises between Seoul and Washington, calling the drills a declaration of war. In a statement on Tuesday, the North's Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of Korea called on the Allies to halt the drills and threatened merciless blows that could escalate into an all-out war on the peninsula. The statement also said the North is ready to counter any kind of war the U.S. might start, even a nuclear provocation. The warnings are similar to those issued by the North in the past. Seoul's defense ministry responded by saying South Korean forces would take immediate action to defend the country against any bullets or projectiles coming across the border. Seoul and Washington are set to kick off the 4-day Ulji Freedom Guardian exercise on Monday. The computer-assisted simulation drill is designed to train South Korean and U.S. forces to deal with a range of current and future threats. The drills kick off amid heightened tensions between the 2 Koreas after a recent landmine explosion that injured 2 South Korean soldiers. Pyongyang has yet to issue a response after Seoul's defense ministry concluded that the North was behind the attack. Seoul has responded by resuming propaganda broadcasts along the border for the first time in 11 years. It has also vowed further retaliation and continues to call on the regime to apologize for its actions. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
North Korea is reportedly ramping up its uranium production. Jeffrey Lewis, a non-proliferation expert at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, says North Korea is refurbishing its Pyeongsan uranium concentration plant in the south of the country. Now, in an article for North Korea analysis website 38North, Lewis said Pyongyang wants to use the extra uranium to either produce fuel for light water reactors or expand its nuclear arsenal. Uranium, if highly enriched, can be used to make weapons, giving North Korea another way of building nuclear bombs in addition to its existing plutonium-based program. Back here in South Korea, and lawmakers are scheduled to vote this afternoon on a motion to arrest a former opposition party lawmaker. Park Geun-hye left the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy party earlier this week amid charges he received nearly $300,000 in illegal political funds in exchange for influence peddling. Park's arrest is subject to parliamentary consent, as sitting lawmakers are immune from arrest while the Assembly is in session. Lawmakers will also vote on whether to adopt a resolution condemning North Korea for that recent landmine attack that seriously injured 2 South Korean soldiers. The ruling Saenuri Party and the government have decided to centre next year's budget on boosting the economy and youth job creation. At a budget meeting this morning, they also decided to allocate more funds to support low-income households as well as farmers and fishermen. The ruling party also asked the government to expand next year's budget at a higher rate than the expected growth rate. However, the party also urged a more conservative outlook for next year's economic growth, for fear of another tax revenue deficit. The plan will be submitted to the Parliament by September 11th. And staying with economic news, and Korea's central bank has frozen the country's key interest rate at 1.5% for August. The Bank of Korea says it wants to see what impact China's currency devaluation and a possible US rate hike will have before it makes a move. Shin Se-min reports.
Wanting to gauge the impact of China's currency devaluation move, Korea's central bank has kept the key rate unchanged at a record low of 1.5% for the second straight month. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting on Thursday, the central bank said it's maintaining a wait-and-see approach. Bank of Korea Governor Lee Ju-yeol said the decision was also influenced by high expectations the U.S. Federal Reserve will begin hiking rates before the end of the year and possibly even from September. Since this time last year, the BOK has cut the key rate 4 times, bringing it down by 1 percentage point in total. The last rate cut in June was a preemptive measure against the economic fallout caused by the outbreak of Middle East respiratory syndrome. Despite the relatively aggressive action, the cuts have done little to spur the economy. Korea's GDP increased just 0.3% in the second quarter. Exports have been falling every month this year, and there are severe concerns about the weight of household debt Korea is saddled with. Analysts say the central bank may have to consider further cuts in the coming months, especially if Korea's heavily export-reliant economy is damaged by China's surprise decision to sharply devalue its currency. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
And as a follow-up to that report, China has devalued its currency yet again for the third straight day. The yuan was pushed down another 1.11% against the US dollar on Thursday. That means it's been lowered a total of 4.66% since Tuesday. According to the China Foreign Exchange Trade System, the guiding rate for the yuan now stands at 6.4010 for $1. The devaluations follow recent data that showed China's exports slumped 8% in July, raising concerns the world's second largest economy is heading for a slowdown. And China's surprise currency devaluation is affecting Asian economies, and Korea is absolutely no exception. In fact, Korea is the second hardest hit nation, with its default risk reaching its highest level in 6 months. Han Da-an has the details.
Korea's credit default risk hit a 6-month high as China lowered its currency for 3 consecutive days in an effort to bolster its slowing economy. The market research firm Market says the CDS premium for Korea's 5-year foreign exchange stabilization bonds reached 63.1 basis points on Thursday, the highest since February. That's a 20% jump from last month. A CDS is a financial agreement that helps lower the risk of loss for bondholders. A CDS premium is often used to measure the creditworthiness of a company or country. Market watchers say the sudden rise in the risk premium points to increasing concerns over China's sluggish economy and whether the government's stimulus measures will be enough to shore up growth. There are also concerns about the possible impact on Korea, a country that's highly dependent on the Chinese economy. The risk premium has also risen in other Asian countries as well over the last 3 days since China announced its currency devaluation, but only Thailand showed a higher increase rate than Korea on Thursday. Malaysia trailed Korea with a 13% jump, followed by Indonesia, Kazakhstan, and the Philippines. The CDS premium increase rate was relatively low for other developed nations, including the U.S. at 3.9%, the U.K. at 2.8%, and Japan with one of the lowest figures at 0.6%. Han Da-an, Arirang News.
Now, more Koreans are swiping their credit cards overseas, and there has been a significant rise in the number of people spending over $50,000 each. According to data collected by the Bank of Korea, the total amount of foreign transactions surpassing $50,000 per person came to about $1.1 billion in 2014. That's up nearly 79% from 2010. The number of big spenders also jumped from just over 7,000 to over 11,000 over the same period. Corresponding figures for corporate credit cards showed a more gradual rise, but still it was about 30%. Financial policymakers have expressed concern over the increase in overseas spending as protracted weak domestic consumption is stifling economic growth. Exciting times for fans of the latest tech products. That's because Samsung Electronics is set to launch its latest phablet and smartphone in New York in its efforts to peg back its arch rival Apple in the North American market. The Korean tech giant will unveil the Galaxy Note 5. and the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus at its Samsung Unpacked 2015 event at Lincoln Center on Thursday morning local time. The Galaxy S6 Edge Plus is a bigger edition of the Galaxy S6 Edge released back in April. Up until now, Samsung had introduced its Galaxy Note series at Germany's annual IFA fair in September. Market watchers say the early release and change in location comes as Apple is set to launch its new iPhone models next month. Thursday's showcase will also include a fully fledged launch of Samsung's mobile payment system, Samsung Pay. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a great day, and thank you as always for watching. We do hope to see you at the same time tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.